Hi there. Welcome to the last week of the Lindenwood class. If you're here for Lindenwood, or if you're here for
Hi there.
just
Welcome to the last
You'll need to mute your.
Lindenwood class. If you're here for Lindenwood, or if you're here for Hi there. Welcome to the last.
You'll need to mute your.
Lindenwood class.
Let's mute that very quickly, please.
Lindenwood, or if you're here
I'm trying to find it.
You'll need to mute your.
Okay, guys, we had to mute the stream there for a moment to make sure that didn't hurt you guys' ears too much. We're still trying to get the audio issues fixed.
Okay, guys, we had to mute the stream there for a moment.
And they're not yet. Okay, I think we got it now.
All right, just call me technology challenged. I only teach the stuff. I don't do it. Bad joke? Bad joke. Okay.
At least you waited till the last class to admit it.
Wrong link in the module threw me off.
That would explain low attendance too.
Really? Can you expand on that? So you went to the class link, and the link in the class was to a previous one or something? Adam, if you could answer that. Anyway, well, we're getting off to a great start. Luckily, we're going to have some fun to begin and get our breath back. It was from October 22. Ugh. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Hopefully everybody else will just go to the website, the YouTube class and the YouTube's channel, and find it there.
Looks like your tech-savvy students figured it out, though.
Yes, but my tech-savvy students are better than I am today. That's cool. We got a good number here. All right. Well, hey, let's go ahead and start with having a little bit of fun. Grab your cell phones or tablets and get ready. We do have a week 8 Kahoot that we've done twice before, so we've tested this one, and it's a good bit of fun. It's a good bit of fun, so we'll all find out whether we have fun at it. So, loading the game pin, and the game pin coming up is 704. 3411 is the game pin. Who's not muted now?
That's you on Kahoot.
Because Kahoot's not muted. My heavens.
Remember to go to kahoot.it and put in that game pin.
All right. Danny, Diablo, Logan. Boy, we're getting them so fast I can't say them all. Jules, Nico, Amphibian J. Okay, Amphibian J is...
The game pin is at the top of the screen, 704-3411.
Okay. All right. Good. We're getting good folks here. We've got 13 in here. How many do we have online now, Robert? So how many are we looking for, hopefully?
We have 17 people watching, including us.
Including you and me. So we'd expect
15.
15 people to join the game. There's 14. Do we have one more out there working on it? Preston, I like your icon. Oh, you just changed it. Now you're changing the beard. Okay, I guess I can't watch the screen. Too many funny things are happening. All right, are we ready to go? It looks like we're not going to get that 15th person, but that's okay. They can continue working on joining, whoever that is. All right, first question. And now, one thing I did notice is that on a cell phone, it will only give you the colors and will not give you the text. So you need to look at my screen and then look at your phone to answer the question. So in week 2, we learned about no seafood. Which was the most expensive fish on the menu? Yellowfish tuna was red. Wild Alaskan salmon box was blue. The wild Icelandic cod was yellow. And green is, I'm not sure, but now I'm hungry. This isn't a very fair question, is it?
I don't think so. That was from this class?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. We have 13 answers. There's a 14th person out there that's still undecided. Okay, there we go. And we're all over the board, which I would expect. And the right answer was the wild Alaskan salmon box. And that's significant because I love the Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely.
I love the wild salmon that we get in the Pacific Northwest, cooked out on a beach by authentic Indians that are cooking it for us on cedar planks.
Yeah, we used to live near the Tulalip tribe out there.
Yeah.
Got to do that a couple times. That was great.
Watching the canoe races. That was great. That was great. Anyway, a little bit of history there. Okay, so let's see. Okay, Schneider. Okay, we got one. One up. Okay, and the next answer is, in week 5, we talked about SWIFT. What impact has SWIFT had on current events? Red, it processed its final transaction and is closing for good. Or blue, it publicly banned use of cryptocurrency on its platform. Or yellow, it seized the cryptocurrency assets of international traffickers. Or green, it shut down international payments to Russia. We have 8 answers in. You might be able to logic this one. Alrighty, do we have that 14th person answering? Da, 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 da. We need to put the Jeopardy theme there. Oh, interesting. I fooled a lot of you. Yeah, it did shut down international payments to Russia. That was the big thing. And the reason why it was so big is because it became part of the sanctions that basically cut off all the Russian banks from doing business with the rest of the world through SWIFT, which is an international transfer house. So that was the answer there. Let's see who did get it right and who's on the top of the list. And Schneider stays on the top of the list. Hey, way cool. And here we go. 3 of them came up this last time. Logan and Diablo. Okay, week 4, we covered the Ethereum merge. What was the result of the merge? Red, the blockchain shut down, Y2K style. Blue, the beacon chain hodlers became rich. Yellow, Ethereum or ETH moved to proof of stake. Or green, ETH was able to process 100 times the number of transactions per second. So, which is it gonna be today? I love the picture of the Ethereum coin on a computer.
That is interesting. Yeah. You know, there was a really big push there a couple of years ago to try to make actual physical coins and stuff.
Yeah, but that didn't go anywhere because they're not physical coins.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Ethereum moved to a proof of stake, and that was important for the Ethereum blockchain because the Ethereum blockchain was getting to the point where it was taking way too long to process transactions. Because they've got so many side chains that use the Ethereum blockchain, they needed to have the ability to process many, many more transactions. And proof of stake is a way to start going down the path where they eventually will be able to perform more transactions. Now, I kind of fooled some of you with the green one. They were able to process 100 times more transactions. That was not true in the immediate term, but shortly will happen as they are able to do the next upgrade, which will allow for much more rapid throughput of transactions. Okay, moving on. And we had a change of leader. Amphibian has now screamed up to the lead, but only by 8 points, just a squeaky lead there.
Clicked a little bit
Question
faster,
4
I think.
out of 5. Okay. In week 1, we learned about blockchain helping to finance Hollywood films. What is not a benefit of this blockchain? Red, smart contracts to pay actors. Blue, minting of NFTs of movie frames. Yellow, revenue split among the donors. And green, establish ownership of film and production. And we have 8 answers in. Okay, going clear back to week 1. Why would I do that? Okay, 12, 13, and 14 came through, and we're all over the place. Revenue split among the donors was actually the answer, and I used a little voice inflection to fool a few of you. Minting of NFTs was not part of that blockchain, but I can imagine that's going to come. And the green one, establishing ownership of the film and production, it was more focused on the actors than the production people. The problem that it's trying to solve is the actors getting paid for the film rights afterwards. So that's the problem they were trying to solve with that particular blockchain. All right, moving forward, and the leaderboard has not changed, although I don't see that Amphibian or Schneider got any points that time. Ooh boy, they hung on to the lead without. Okay, and Jules is knocking on the door there. All right, the last question of the day. In week 6, we discussed oracles. What function do oracles perform? Oracles are algorithms that sort and maintain data.
And that one's red.
And that's red, yep. Oracles in blue are used like by sites like Coinbase to trade one crypto for another. Yellow is oracles used AI to predict market volatility. Or green, oracles connect data from the real world to a blockchain. And we have 7 people that think they know the answers. Okay. Okay. And the majority did get the right answer. They linked data to the blockchain. So you've seen a lot of these websites that have a running ticker, for example, at the bottom or at the top of the website. It's that kind of thing where they get running data sets running into the blockchain that can be analyzed by smart contracts and then presented to users by the coding in the blockchain. So very good. And who do we give the prize to? Here, third place is Mike. Okay. And second is Andrew. Andrew is here today. There we go. Like he's been in week 6 and week 7. And Diablo, you took first. Way cool. Way cool.
Out of nowhere.
And Amphibian fell to 4th, and Schneider fell to 5th. Okay, very good. A little bit of fun to start the day. And interesting. The reason I'm saying interesting is Andrew, I'm not seeing you in the chat. So, let me know that you're in the chat there, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and close those, and okay, all righty. So now let's move on to our next subject. The next subject I want to cover is the progress that Great Britain is making toward their central bank digital currency. Now, they've been working on it a bit longer than the U.S. has, and they've actually modeled a few things out. So I wanted to go over what we can likely expect here in the United States, and see where they're going with it. give us a model maybe to go for. So I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint to show these because I just pulled some detail out of there. The article that was submitted by one of you guys was Bank of England details digital pound model, calling plans likely, by my favorite friend Finn Strathern. He actually did a good job with this article because he's basically just parroting another article. And I'll put the link in the description for this, the other documents that are referred to in this document that give all the details beyond what Finn put into the article itself. So in the article it links to this paper up here and links to the Bank of England, an article where they chartered their people to go out and start investigating the CBDC paradigm and see what it would do. The UK Treasury stance on the likely need for the digital pound and their proposed model. A technology working paper also released to explain technical designs and concepts. Paper reiterates the belief, the BOE's belief, that CBDCs like the digital pound can coexist with private stablecoins and fiat cash in a mixed payments economy. Now, the reason I emphasize that is because that seems a little bit contrary to the way the US and the SEC seems to be going. The SEC here seems to be dead set against stablecoins. In other words, they look at all those stablecoin dollars, and there's several varieties of them, and they basically say, we don't want no fake dollars out there. Pardon my bad English, just for emphasis there. The SEC seems to want to squash stablecoins in favor of what they're going to introduce as the CBDC dollar. So that will be interesting to watch as that evolves. And that, in fact, may be a different path than what the Bank of England is trying to do. So let's look and see what they are actually trying to do here. Now, their model is listed here in these 12 points. Public-private ownership. Really? Their central bank is not going to own the central bank digital currency for the pound? That's interesting in and of itself. What is going to be the private side of the ownership? The public side, of course, is going to be the Bank of England, which is the Bank of England is the UK's Federal Reserve compared to the US. Okay, the next one is used by households and businesses. Yeah, that's a given. Public digital money issued by a central platform operated by the Bank of England. I understand that one. That works. That's just kind of an assumption when they talk about a central bank digital currency that the central bank's going to actually run it. Duh. Okay. Seamless, exchangeable with other forms of money, including cash and bank deposits. Okay. In other words, the CBDC is going to coexist in a bank as a CBDC account right next to a regular pound, an account where you would deposit your paychecks that are in a pound, or your cash that you earn, or your kids' accounts, and all of those monies that are just regular pound accounts right next to the digital pounds. So that's an interesting concept as well. Wallets to hold digital pounds offered by the private sector. So the wallets are going to be part of that private sector. So we're getting a little definition there on how the private sector is going to be involved. Accessed by users through smartphones or cards. In other words, where they're going to have debit cards. Okay. So they're going to have debit cards that you can access your accounts. Okay, that's kind of an assumption. And you can use your smartphones. And we've got a lot of payment systems, Google Pay and Apple Pay and Samsung Pay, for just to name 3 payment systems that are off your phone anyway. So basically they're duplicating in a central bank digital currency what we already have come to expect in the fiat banking system. So privacy is protected like for cards, interesting wording, and bank accounts, but not anonymous. Okay, here we go. We'll come back to this one a couple different times because they approach it a couple different ways. Privacy is protected like cards and bank accounts, but not anonymous. Now, today, none of our deposits are anonymous. A law enforcement agency can go to a judge and say, we have reasonable cause that we need to look at their bank accounts, and up pops their bank accounts, and they can look at them, they can see what transactions we've made. The central bank digital currency will just make it a whole lot easier to do, which is the one thing that scares me about a digital currency owned and run by the government. So here we go. There's going to be no interest paid on it. Okay. When they say no interest paid, I wonder in what conditions are no interest going to be paid? In other words, is no interest paid when it's just in your wallet, or is no interest paid when you've deposited at a bank like a normal savings that would normally earn interest? Okay, that'll be interesting to figure out there. The Bank of England and the government would not see any personal data. Okay, I believe that. Take that right to the bank and...
The Bank of England.
Right, and yeah, chew on that one for a while. So like I said, we'd come back to this privacy issue multiple times. Limited amount per user, at least initially. In other words, they're not going to flood the market with a whole bunch of digital pounds and inflate the currency supply. They're going to be making it available based on the same kind of criteria where they would print literal money and they'd be burning off other money that has, been torn or just, ruined in some way. They put it in a furnace and they replace it with new cash to each bank. So I can understand that one. They don't want to inflate the money supply just because they're going digital. Okay. Accessible to UK and non-UK residents. So in other words, they expect it to be a worldwide currency. If you trade in the pound today, you should be able to trade in the pound tomorrow wherever you are in the world, is what they're saying. So for everyday payments, online and in-store. Okay, that would be an assumption on my part. If it was restricted in any way like that, I doubt that it would go very far when it's actually deployed. So, okay, so that's this one. Now let's go to the next one.
Well,
so
one quick comment on that. It says for everyday payments, one of the biggest difficulties of Bitcoin, at least currently, is there is some cost per transaction, and that cost per transaction is really hard to justify small dollar value transactions. That's mostly due to the fact that it's a proof of work scheme. You're not going to get proof of work in a central bank digital currency because, of course, the bank doesn't want to do any work to generate it. They just want to press button, print money. So in this case, however they distribute the cash, it's not going to cost per transaction except as much as what the bank wants to have a hidden fee per transaction, which is just a literal tax that they get to remit back to themselves.
Yeah, because like Visa cards have a transaction fee that the business pays. So that might be the cost of doing business type of thing, but you pay it to run the software that runs the digital currency. And you'll notice that they have not said anything about blockchain here yet. They've not said anything about that type of payment system. In fact, they have stayed away from denoting what kind of software this is going to be that actually runs this payment system that they talk about. So, okay, so the central bank has a core ledger. Now they're calling it a ledger. So that might lead us to believe that maybe it's going to be a distributed ledger type of software, but none of the other components as we go through this appear to follow that blockchain sort of paradigm.
It says central bank ledger. I doubt a central bank ledger would be a distributed bank ledger.
Well, they're going to have private banks that are going to be able to be managing as co-partners to this. So you could easily have a distributed ledger, but the ledgers end up at the banks and not in private wallets.
They're also using the term core in there, which I've never heard of before when it comes to blockchain.
That's true too.
Which it could easily be that they're creating a super ledger owned by the central bank.
A centralized ledger.
Yeah, and then everybody else just can copy and paste if they want to.
Yeah, true.
Who knows?
Okay, then there'll be an API layer that lets the private sector intermediaries connect to that core ledger. In other words, blocks unauthorized access, only regulated entities can connect to it. So you have to be a bank that's affiliated with the banking system, an authorized exchange, possibly maybe a stock exchange or something that has to interact with money to buy stocks and then to sell stocks and send the money to you. That type of API layer is going to allow them to connect to the central bank. Okay, then you've got the different types of intermediaries. So they're going to define intermediaries here as payment interface providers and external service interface providers. So they're authorized and regulated forms of people who handle transactions. So it's the stock exchanges, the brokerage houses, the banks, the investment houses, all of those types of people. And then, of course, you've got the users that connect through their wallet, and they would register with intermediaries to access the digital pound. And they just talked about the intermediaries in the previous box. So you're going to have to register your private wallet, the wallet that's going to be distributed or created by the private companies, whatever they are. You're going to have to connect them through one of those intermediaries, such as a bank. So in other words, where people couldn't get a bank account before, they might not still be able to get a wallet after, which means, that banks can still hold the key to you getting into the financial system. Where CBDCs, at least I hear in the US, that CBDCs are trying to help bring in the unbanked. So maybe that's a paradigm shift as well. All right, the next one. Okay, this is the privacy objectives. Okay, now here we go. My favorite page. Neither the government nor the bank would have access to digital pound users' personal data. So that's the way it is, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's read the next screen. Digital pound would not be anonymous. Wait a minute, didn't that just contradict the first one? Because of the ability to identify and verify users is needed to prevent financial crime. Okay, so we're going to make sure that it's private, but that we can still see it because we need to catch the bad guys. And that seems to be the whole excuse they always use to take away freedoms that we currently have with cash that's in our hands that we can spend. So, bit of a difference there that I struggle with. Users should be able to choose from a range of wallet services. In other words, various private companies that are going to have wallet services. Varying levels of identification would be accepted. Users should be able to vary their privacy preferences to suit their needs. What is that? I cannot imagine, after seeing those first two boxes, what kind of privacy preferences the users could adjust that would meet our needs, other than saying, government, stick your nose out of my wallet. Leave me alone. Anyway, we'll see. Enhanced privacy functionality, could result in digital pound users securing greater benefits from sharing their personal data. I don't know about getting more privacy by sharing your data. Okay, so a boatload of contradictions here that I can't explain away. They're just there. They're just okay. Don't know what to say.
My best guess here is any transaction up to £5 you can do without any personal identification whatsoever. If you want to go from £5 to £25, we have to know your name and birth date. You go anything above that, and they can just have tiers of you have to give absolutely everything and to be able to unlock anything. So if you want to buy a car,
yeah,
or a house,
it'll definitely follow those know your customer laws and those laws that have you report if it's over 10,000 or whatever the bank requires at that point. But the Federal Reserve currently requires you to report where the money came from if you're depositing cash over 10,000. That doesn't have a source automatically attached to it. So anyway, that is the roundup for the digital pound. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it at all. I don't know what to think of it, because it just seems to be a boatload of contradictions. Move on to our next subject.
Well, we have some comments in the chat.
All right, let me get rid of my PowerPoint presentation here and look. All right. Also, concerning is the ties to a potential social credit score. Yeah, those are creeping their way into the lexicon, aren't they? Yes, definitely. And that social credit score, of course, allows you to spend or not spend or buy certain things or whatever they want to control you with. And so, yeah, that is definitely a concern that I have as well. Okay. Strike app and Lightning Network fixers on the Bitcoin payment issue.
I think that's related to the comment that I made about Bitcoin costing per transaction and that being an issue.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much the Lightning Network helped them. I haven't seen any data or facts and data on that. So anyway, yeah, no thanks. I like that. Okay, I was watching the one from the link in Stuff to Do, and it was from 2022. I'm sorry, Justin. I really am. It was brought to my attention that the link was from last quarter's class in the fall. And so, my bad. I'm glad you got here. Glad you joined. Sorry you couldn't be part of the Kahoot fun that we had at the beginning. All right, very good. Okay, let's take a 2-minute break, and I'll bring up the rest of the stuff and get ready to do the next two subjects, okay? See you in a couple minutes. All right. Well, thanks for giving me a short break. I appreciate that. I got a drink here so I can hopefully stay hydrated here. This article that you see on the screen was actually presented by one of your students this last week too, and I wanted to extend a little bit on this article because it was a good article, and really it's going the direction that any clear-thinking person looking from outside the in financial industry would just say, oh duh, that had to happen eventually. So the SEC, what they're doing in this article is they voted to amend a section in the 2009 custody rule. So the 2009 custody rule is basically for banks that in the advent of all of the new banking services that were being offered over the internet, that required them to have a certain amount of security and have it hardened. And it basically said that they would be responsible if there was loss because of a security breach to any customer. Now that seems, very logical. And other things in that custody rule also said that if you are keeping assets in custody for clients, that you are responsible for those assets if they are lost or stolen. Now they're saying basically that, okay, we're going to slip cryptocurrencies under that same umbrella. And this article is trying to illustrate that that's going to make it very difficult. Well, you're right, it's going to make it very difficult. Hopefully it will prevent things like Sam Bankman-Fried thinking that all money deposited in his exchange were his to play with and do with whatever he pleased. I can donate it to politicians, I can buy places in the Bahamas, I can live high on the hog and do anything I want to. Oh darn, it went bankrupt. Ah, shucks. It's looking to, because he did that, now the SEC is taking a much stronger look at making exchanges liable for the funds that are in their custody. So here's the situation. I go to Coinbase and I decide that I want Coinbase because I'm more comfortable dealing with the banking industry, and they offer me services similar to a banking industry type of entity, to deposit my coin there, and they keep the private keys and they keep the funds in their custody. So basically they're going to say to the Coinbases, to the Binance exchanges of the world, that if you have money or coin deposited in your custody and you're holding the private keys, that you are responsible if those are lost or stolen. Same as a bank. Okay, that seems logical to me. It is going to make it very difficult though, because along with that, and it alludes to it in this article, along with that comes a lot of other overhead. They have to have annual statements, they have to have annual audits by an external auditing company, they have to show that they've been responsible as a fiduciary would be responsible for those funds. So they have to literally, square up with the rest of the financial industry to do what is expected of any bank. And so, that's where the SEC is going. And I don't think there's going to be anything that stops them from going there. Whether the crypto industry complains or not, I just don't think anything is going to stop them after we see something like a Sam Bankman-Fried that just whisks away billions of dollars and really doesn't even bat an eye. So I want to go ahead and illustrate that this isn't just a move by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. It's really a move internationally. So if you go to another article here that I found on the side over here, it's this article. They are trying to, the G20 is the 20 economically strong countries that get together and try to make financial policy. They got together and they talked in that by July they wanted regulation and supervision on the cryptocurrency industry as a whole. Now, what's going to be really interesting is a lot of those cryptocurrencies aren't necessarily meant as coins that are, investments and or meant to be, meant to be speculative assets. They are assets, but they're not meant to be speculative assets. So they don't really fit the paradigm of a bank or a brokerage house. They kind of fit somewhere in the middle where some of those assets are just assets. They don't necessarily own them just to increase their value. So anyway, so we've got that paradigm issue. But the challenge is the Financial Stability Board, or FSB, which is one of the G20 entities, is basically expecting to publish regulations in July of this coming year, and it's going to be expected that the G20 countries would then implement at least that level of regulation and standards. So let's go one step further. We have another entity which is called the Financial Action Task Force, and it is an even larger entity than the G20, and they put out a recommendation a while back. In fact, it was supposed to be in 2020, October 15. They had its recommendation 15 in October 2018 to put regulations around the crypto industry, and countries just didn't do it. So here we are 5 years later. What's going on? And so they've been hammering constantly on the idea of you've got to regulate crypto. And the thing that scares me in this one is a statement down here. I'll probably have to find it after the video, but basically that they had to be able to be willing to outlaw cryptocurrencies or digital currencies totally outright. That is on the table and being discussed at this level. So here you've got a situation where the cryptocurrency industry has not done themselves any favors by allowing themselves to constantly be hacked, constantly be stolen, constantly be absconded with, the fraud and the graft and the potential for financing things that are not in the best interest of most people, has really crippled the ability of the crypto industry to self-regulate or to regulate itself going forward. And that's unfortunate, because I think the crypto industry could have really, and still can really, if it survives, can really benefit the people out here. I get the feeling that governments are going to be strong enough to basically stamp it out eventually, but we'll see. Thank goodness that the blockchain technology will live on and benefit the majority of businesses out there, but at the same time we're still seeing the fact that there's going to be significant regulation when it comes to crypto asset, and so that's kind of where things are going. We'll stay tuned and watch for more in the future.
My thoughts on that are: 1, use cold wallets where possible. 2, stay away from all the fly-by-night coins and schemes and get-rich-quick things. Stick to Bitcoin, stick to Ethereum, stick to the mainstream sources. Use it for transactions, not for speculations, wherever possible. And then you're kind of keeping yourself personally out of trouble and helping Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to be moved towards mainstream good use instead of the kind of uses that regulators want to get a hold of.
Yep. All right. So, are we ready to go to the next subject?
I think so.
The final topic of the night. It's always interesting to talk about quantum computing. It's fascinating to me, this thing called a qubit that can hold so many different states, that they can contain within a single qubit much more computing power than our average computers today. So they've been working quite a while in getting these qubits stable enough to actually hold data, and once they can really substantially hold data, they can then go from that point to actually having a layer of programming over the top that can actually tell it what to do and what coding to run, and it can actually do work. Now, at this point, they're still working on getting the qubits to be stable. They've not actually got it to the point of doing any real work with the computers. So the quantum computer is still technically theory, but it's coming closer and closer to fact every day. So here's kind of an update on where the quantum computing is. This first report, of course, is more of a, quantum computer can break everything. It can get through all the cryptography. It can get through all the, all the security that we've got. Well, yeah, eventually It may. But they're also working on cryptography that's going to prevent what this author was concerned about at that point. So what he does is explain what quantum computing here is, and the fact that quantum computing can do a lot of work, and it's going to, in astronomy, chemistry, biology, all kinds of different areas. This is going to be a huge benefit to anybody doing research in those areas and needing massive computing power in order to get through the massive amount of data that they have to deal with. Okay, so let's look at the second article. The second article is about a group of people that are another group of people that's working on this, other than what this one is just a general paper. I think he talks about Chinese researchers here. This group is over in Europe somewhere, yes, in University of Sussex in the UK. They're working on it, and they've got to the point where they can, I think they said they had a 400 qubit processor now that could transfer and keep successfully transfer 99.9999993% of the accurate data transferring back and forth. So what they're learning is a lot of good, solid data. Once they get this stabilized, then they can actually start programming on it, and then is where it's really, really going to get exciting. But what does that timeline look like? That's the key here is, what are we really looking at? We get a lot of teasing by some of these articles and a lot of, inferences as to what great things it's going to do. But let's actually see what kind of a timeline some of these companies are looking at, because IBM right now has actually published their timeline, so we can take a quick look at it. So I'm gonna open this up a little bit, and of course we're here in 2023. So last year at the end of the year in November, they showed their Osprey computer that had a stable 433 qubit processor, and that is quite incredible. They're expecting that over the next year, that by the end of 2023 and come to that same conference, they're going to be able to put together a single processor of 1121 qubits, and then a parallel processor of 133 qubits times p, the number of processors. So they're already talking about extensibility with the idea of putting multiple computing devices together that can work on the same problems and work at it in a parallel sort of schema. Then 2024 they're looking at, so we're talking toward the end of next year, they're looking at a 1386 plus qubit system with Crossbill being 408 qubits. So different technology here they're talking about. Details we could go into their articles, but that's probably beyond here. But see, what we're seeing is, let's look up here. 2023, they're starting to prototype quantum software applications. Okay? And by 2025, they're expecting the machines down here to be mature enough that they can actually run quantum software applications. So, such as machine learning.
Well, that was some thunder.
Wow. That was thunder, folks. Whoa, scared me out of my skin. Okay, machine learning, optimization, natural science, and finance. Okay, so quantum serverless, intelligent orchestration, and some of these terms I don't even understand at this point. Error correction comes out over here. They're talking about error suppression and mitigation in 2024 to 25, but beyond 26 they can actually have error correcting processors, which of course all of the Pentium and Intel class and AMD class CPUs have error correction in them, and we expect that. Okay, so the timeline really to get really excited about actually seeing deployable qubit quantum computers running software actually focused on applications is in the 2025 to 2026 time frame. And I think that's cool. We can actually see light at the end of this tunnel that we've been trying to travel through for years. I mean, I've heard of quantum computing for 10 years, and back when it was just theoretical, and they were talking about the possibilities, and they couldn't even get one qubit to work, and everybody was going, keep working on it, but I don't think so. But now it's actually becoming a surprising reality. Science fiction is becoming science fact, as we see so often. So,
is there any note in these articles that you read about what the processing power of 1 qubit is?
Oh, yeah.
I just can't relate that to current processing power at all.
Oh boy, they do in one of these 2 articles.
Okay.
In fact, it's the first one when he talks about. Experts estimate that it would take ordinary computers 300 trillion years to break an RSA 2048 encryption. However, Chinese researchers said in their paper that the encryption could be inversed with a quantum computer with 372 qubits, or basic unit of information acting as a proxy for computing power in just a few seconds, is what they said.
Okay, then.
Okay,
So
then.
1 qubit is worth somewhere around
Well, this is
a
372
trillion
qubits.
years
Yeah.
of current power. Wow, that's okay.
I mean, we're talking about a huge quantum leap. Dare I say that?
Very nice.
Okay, so do we have? That would be crazy quantum machine learning. Yeah, it sure would. I mean, if we talk about having a quantum computer and then miniaturizing it so it can fit in an android sort of humanoid sort of looking robot. I mean, what could we get out of that? The machine learning there, the AI that was there, quantum gaming, anyone?
Well, yeah, just combine that with the very, very primitive AI we have today, and
Yeah, it's
it'll
going to be
crazy.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, one thing that people have been talking about with the rise of AI is suddenly, well, what's going to be happening with deep fakes and taking over people's likeness and their face and their voice and everything else. Well, once this sort of thing happens, I'm sorry, your thumbprint's no longer unique, your voice isn't unique, nothing about you can identify you at all as separate from anybody else in the digital space.
Oof.
That's scary.
Yeah. And, very scary.
As
Very scary.
Justin says, paradigm shifting for sure.
Definitely earth-shattering.
But with this additional computing power, and the original point here was that it could overcome the encryption in blockchain. Well, it can also power blockchain to do more, to encrypt at a higher level, to advance the next piece. And just because I can't imagine it, because I'm not a computer scientist, I can't imagine what they'll come up with. New forms of security will be invented.
Exactly. That's the point. So, hey, it's been a great night. It's been great with these live streams and everybody that's joined. It's been fun. Do well on your final papers. I look forward to grading them. Most of everybody here is just sliding into a passing grade, and that's exciting to see. And so I'll look forward to seeing your last paper, seeing who you vote on as far as who submitted the best article during the quarter. That is the final assignment for for submitting papers or submitting articles, is to vote on your favorite 3 articles. So I always look forward to seeing that one in the last week. So vote on your favorites there, and we'll look forward to seeing y'all pass. And how about if you just send me a note when you graduate and let me know, when that day comes. I'd appreciate it. So I'm going to close the live stream. Everybody, go ahead and tell me that you're here. And Lori, I'm glad you were able to join. Lori, I'm really sorry that you got caught up with that bad link. The final paper need to be in a certain format. Yes, it should be an APA format. Take the questions and put them as titles and do the answer to the question below it, and then move forward that way. Yes. So, and Austin found his way here too. Okay. All right. Very good. I must have got tired when I was changing all those links before I got to week 8. I don't know what happened, because regularly at the beginning of the class I go from week to week to week and change all the live streams. I don't know how that one got missed. Maybe I forgot to hit the save button. Because, gosh, there's 10 million save buttons, it seems, in Canvas in order to change an assignment and save it here and save it there, and it's crazy. But, hey, we made it, those of you. So, look forward to seeing your final papers. Good luck, and good luck in the rest of your college career and beyond. Thanks.